Tappy has just released Arc 7 Chapter 51, and this will be a summary of the chapter. Highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 50 summary. Anyways, let's begin. The soft breeze swept across Subaru as he held Lewis's hand. Behind him was Yorna, the Empress of Chaos Flame. They were on the roof of the Red Ruri Castle, the tallest point in Chaos Flame. In other words, the spot where Subaru believed that the abyss with the best view would be. Subaru calls out to Olbart, saying he has a bad personality. We see Subaru holding Lewis with one hand and pointing at Olbart. Olbart continues to drink his liquor from his gourd. Olbart asks if Subaru is hungry, and Subaru is confused. Olbart states that Subaru didn't have time to eat, and after all, food is required for the proper functioning of the head and body. He pulled out a package containing a black spherical object. This was food, some sort of food for shinobi. It tastes really horrible, but it contains a lot of energy. It really did look like an emergency ration. Olbart rolled it around his palm, but Subaru didn't know if he would even eat something given to him by Olbart. Olbart explains that he was a shinobi since he was young, so he's very used to eating stuff like this. Olbart wishes he could retire so he didn't have to eat such horrible food. Subaru tells Olbart, why doesn't he just retire then? Isn't he the strongest shinobi now? Olbart agrees but states he still eats the food because it's a habit for him. After the conversation was over, Yorna stated that this was a castle, was it not? Olbart stated that the secret for long life is to do what you want. Despite this, Yorna seemed graceful, but it was very obvious that Olbart was the target of her anger. Despite that though, Olbart was acting like nothing was wrong. Olbart asks why a fox-girl and two kids are hanging around together. After all, they aren't friends. Yorna says that she isn't like Olbart and that she would treat children with respect. With that, Yorna blew out some smoke, stating that Olbart has been seducing Yorna's followers. Subaru states that this isn't a foul if Yorna does anything, considering Olbart had set Subaru and the others up in the inn, and Olbart agrees that he can't complain. Olbart surmises that Subaru isn't from Wallachia, and Yorna then goes on to praise Subaru for his skillful reasoning, and hopes Tanza will learn from Subaru. With that said, Yorna emits a dangerous aura and asks where Olbart hid Tanza. We see that Subaru told Yorna the whole situation, that Subaru was playing hide and seek with Olbart and that Tanza was helping him. Of course, he kept the fact that Abel was emperor a secret. We see that Yorna thought about it and couldn't see if Subaru was telling the truth or lying, so she followed Subaru and Lewis to the roof of the building. Either way, it was a lucky break for Subaru that all of these coincidences happened in their favor. That Subaru broke up with Abel, that Subaru bumped into Ublik and was sent here, Yorna sided with Subaru, and that Subaru was with Lewis instead of Al and Medium. And not only that, that Subaru took a gamble in his kid form and he won the gamble. Yorna perceived no lie from Subaru's word, so she believed him. There are some adults who will laugh off a child's words, and there are some adults who will believe them. Subaru murmurs to himself, who was it that said Yorna was a crazy person? Yorna then goes on to state that she has two requests. The first one is that Olbart returns Tanza to her. Olbart says that Tanza has her own reasons, however Yorna states to not talk back. Olbart then stops talking, and Yorna says that she will hear the circumstances from Tanza's mouth. With that, Yorna said that Olbart needs to stop the game of hide and seek. Yorna reiterates that during the meeting with the Emperor, that the messengers, which are Subaru and his friends, were not to be harmed. Yorna asks if Olbart wants to make the magical city of Chaos Flame his enemy. and olbart said he hasn't really harmed Yorna. Yorna states that she isn't that open-minded to let that slide. Yorna's demeanor was normal, but Subaru knew that there was a deep anger boiling inside her. This was something of a skill that Subaru picked up on over the course of his time here in the rezero world. Louis started growling. Maybe her animal instincts told her she couldn't win a fight here, or maybe she was just cautious of Subaru. Subaru called out to olbart, and we see that olbart was staring at Subaru and Yorna at the same time, one eyeball each looking at each person. With that, Subaru and olbart talk. Subaru states he'll give olbart what he wants, but in return olbart needs to cut him some slack. Olbart asks Subaru who figured out where he was, and Subaru says that he figured it out alone. Of course, Abel and others might eventually turn up at the castle soon. However, Subaru cheated with Louis's ability and Ublik's advice. Taking credit here would hopefully be able to persuade Abel and the others. Plus, if they didn't come around, maybe Subaru could get Yorna on their side. But how would Yorna react if she knew that Louis was a Sin Archbishop? Yorna didn't interrupt Subaru's opinion, meaning that she respected Subaru's words. Olbart wonders if this conclusion is due to Subaru's current state, or would he have made a different choice if he was in his normal body. Olbart states that old men are stubborn, and he cracked the gourd in his hand. The scene changes and we see olbart and Yorna fighting. Yorna heel kicks the floor and collapses half of the castle. Subaru gets caught up and Yorna tells him to get back. Yorna comments that she's surprised that olbart thinks he can win in the city, and that olbart should give his seat to someone younger. However, olbart states he's going to be the longest living out of the 9 divine generals. Olbart jumped up and kicked at Yorna. Yorna spewed out smoke which shielded against the attack. Yorna then attacked olbart, but he caught the attack and retaliated with a kunai strike and lunged at Yorna. The kunai hit Yorna's pipe and the kunai shattered. Subaru wonders what that pipe is made out of. They continue fighting and we see that olbart is mainly fighting by reacting. Olbart states that he doesn't need destructive power to kill people, he just needs to put a single needle in her forehead. And Yorna of course states to just try it. Yorna and olbart continue the fight and we see that Louis and Subaru are just watching. No matter who wins here, there will be a lot of damage, and this isn't ideal. It's logical to think that Yorna's followers and people would come due to this commotion, meaning that the false emperor and his followers would also show up, meaning that there may even be a big war in the city of Kersflame. Olbart threw shurikens at Yorna, who was knocked into the air. She seemed to be surrounded on all sides. She would obviously get hurt by these shurikens, but as the shurikens got close, tiles from the roof of her castle blocked the attacks. Then these tiles formed a staircase in the air, allowing her to then walk down them. Yorna then states that she is the ruler of the city. Olbart wonders how she did that, and states that this was the technique that Cecilus and Arakia were talking about. Yorna states that shinobi who do not love other people cannot use this technique, and that she can do it because she's a woman who loves others. The destroyed castle slowly repaired itself. It was once ruined, but now it was back to normal. Subaru wonders how this was done, and comes to the conclusion that Yorna used the soul marriage technique with the castle itself, and with that, the chapter ends. So, you remember back during Trial 3 of Emilia's trials, yeah? There's a scene between Subaru and Reinhard where Reinhard says, "That kid's the enemy, isn't it?" And Subaru's just like, "Well, it's just a kid, isn't it?" Doesn't that kind of sound like the whole Louis situation? Where, like, Aldebrand's like, "Yo, she's a Sin Archbishop, we need to get rid of her." And Subaru's like, "No, we can't. That feels like the exact same situation, but like Reinhard finds out Louis is a Sin Archbishop and, you know, Subaru defends her. Like, I'm not sure, maybe it's just crack theory, but it just came to my mind whilst reading this chapter. Also, for the actual chapter itself, everything's going up. Like, I didn't expect Yorna to actually side with Subaru. Honestly, I feel like Yorna won't lose. It will be so weird if she's hyped up this hard. Like, the fact that she said that she could beat Cecilis in the city. If Olbart somehow beats her, that would be so anticlimactic. So I feel like Yorna will win, and Olbart will have to relent and release Subaru and the others. I'm not sure. Maybe maybe Olbart will take Tanza hostage. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But I do feel like Abel will show up soon. But we'll see what happens.